Ebo me Daniel. Timmy so wow. I send you a hand in me. I said, maybe I'm sure I'm driving in my baby. We are seeing. I said, how are you me? Joa. Because I think the power who seems to be.
Hello.
Hello, doctor.
Yes.
But wait me a set up.
Hey, okay. I'm already there.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's about 1 minute.
Yes, about 1 minute. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
The presenter will just, the producer will just come on and then.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll start.
All right.
Okay.
No problem.
So
Okay.
see you. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't get bored alone, when there are existing channels that can keep you company anywhere, anytime. VitalGH Media is a mother company of all VitalGH channels. We have multiple platforms for free television. You can watch video on demand, rent or buy, or probably subscribe easily for more updating. Visit our channels on Vimeo, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Apple TV, Amazon Roku TV, and many more, anywhere, everywhere, any day, anytime on your mobile phone, TV channels, Apple Store and Play Store. Don't be left out with existing movies and programs on our various channels. You can visit us on www.vitalghradio1.com.
Hello. Yeah. Okay, I've answered all but let me put it on and then. All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay. You ready?
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen watching us on VitalGH Radio and joining us also on Zoom. It's another Saturday, and it is my joy and pleasure to bring you the land issues in Ghana, which we call in parlance as Aseho Nsem. I hope you all had a good week. However it was, it's over, and we trust God that we are having a good weekend. Last week, we were discussing the new Land Act 2020, Act 1036. And I just would say that the most important point that I think came out was provisions that whether you add your spouse's name, your husband or wife's name to an agreement for land that is a lease or document, the presumption is that you've done it for both of you. That is the most important discussion that I think note we should have about our discussion last week. And the implication is that maybe the person will be able to go ahead and register, but if one day there is a sale, a spouse can go to court and say that he or she did not know about it, so the sale should be what? Cancelled, can go to court about it, and the court may uphold it depending on the reasons given, because it is now a specific provision in the law. And when they take for any Zoom no, and Saturday, I say I bet to you, na make us say, however the week was, we hope so. We'll have a good weekend, and then next week it will get better. Now, last week, you discussed about the New Land Act, about a New Land Act, Act 1036. Now, make I say, na a bear more, maybe feel say, ahyɛsodeɛ anaasɛ biribi a ɛsɛ sɛ yɛma ɛtɔ yɛ tirim ne sɛ mmara no sɛ kyerɛ sɛ woyɛ krataa ɛwɔ asase so na wamfa wo kunu anaa wo din kora anhyɛ so a entiase ɛwɔ mu anaasɛ sɛna mmara no ɛte aseɛ ne sɛ wo kunu anaa wo yere no ɔka ho bi ɛsɛ mu nyinaa ma hoɔden na mode baayɛ sika anaasɛ ahoɔden fam na mode baayɛ na mode tɔɔ asase no enti saa ne nsunsuanso ɛwɔ soɔ na ɛwɔ ho ne sɛ ebi a obetumi a register but ebi wɔ hɔ na sɛ ɔkɔtɔn a ọba no ọbẹ̀ma no tìmí kọ court ka sẹ ọno deɛ na onim ho hwee enti tɔn a watɔn no anaa loan ɔde akɔ akɔgye no enim mmerɛ mu na court no bɛgyinagyina so ɔhwehwɛ nneɛma no mu nyinaa ewia akasɛ ampa nkɛsɛ sɛ ɔbɛ̀ma na ɔbaa no ɛma ne yiri nim ho bi efi sɛ asase no anaa ɛdan no ɛyɛ ɔmo mmienu nyinaa ɛda ɛdia nti megye di sɛ yɛbɛ take note of that provision no na sɛ na Bible ɛme ɛte asɛ ne mmienu no bɛyɛ dɛn baako ne nyinaa adwena akɔbra bɛnkorɔ na bibi a ɛyɛ bia nti ase wɔ mu sɛ yɛn nyinaa ne yɛyɛ na anyɛ sɛ ɔkyena bi obi akɔ akɔka sɛ mmara sesei but wɔwɔ anyɛ ne saa nti metwentwɛn wɔwɔ n'ase ɛnɛ deɛ me feel say it's a very special day because we have somebody who has agreed to make his time available and his vast knowledge available to us on Vital Radio today. And the person is somebody I've known for a very long time. And he was once the executive secretary of the Lands Commission. Currently, Oye Ejuma, Oye Penny Ewo, FAO, office no Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And to me say yakwe trepa say that penny say happiness so say oni ebe nkita ho. Enti me pa cho say wo tia obetimi aka akire wo nua bi ana wadanfo bi na yentie say na me kan adwen ne de enye ba akoda. Ne abobo oboso no kra so osan etim so biemu kra odi humui foforo bi beba enti asefo bo bi bebre a ebe ma ho de me niema na yebeti ase and he will shed more insight into what we have been discussing. Now, person ubetime discuss, ubetime bisa questions. Send a campaign or why you must say dear, ubisa no question na me jidi say, and the work be a so to me and ubetime a mahon moye at their mouth. So today it is my pleasure, most pleasure to present to you our guest for today, Dr. Wentworth Odami Labi. Doctor, if we can see your face on Zoom, I think we can start the discussion. Okay. Good to see you, Doctor, and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Satajenfi. It's been a while, but it's a great opportunity to be able to connect with you again. And let's continue talking about land. It is the basic factor of sustenance for all humanity. And that is why nations will continue to fight and go to war over land and its resources. So when we talk about it, it means we appreciate its usefulness and its value to our livelihoods and to our sustenance. And also, because we are faced with so many challenges, we always try to find out how to improve upon the system, especially for those in the diaspora. They are used to so many working systems. So when sometimes they come into the environments in Ghana and other African countries, they just can't take it. Why? For every step of the way, you have to present yourself in person, follow things up from office to office. Unfortunately, that is our system for now. They will have to endure. So sometimes when they understand some of the mechanisms and some of the processes and some of the challenges, it helps them when they are following up these things so that they don't get unnecessarily incensed about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the introduction you've given us. It's heartwarming. And indeed, if people understand the rate at which maybe, like you are saying, they get incensed, it will go down and they appreciate that we still have a long way to go
Yeah.
despite all the efforts that have been put in. So, Doctor, we will be alternating in the Tree and the English. So please feel comfortable to just, switch in and out of the English. Otherwise, I may have to interpret a bit. But I
No, you
think
don't have to interpret.
okay. Very much, very much a crapping man. So yeah, Doctor,
Yeah.
here we go. Here we go. And so, like you've just also said in your intro, I say that acquiring land is a nightmare. And in any time I get the opportunity to do a presentation, I use a quote by the former director of the law school, Sapong. And the words he uses that buying land in Accra, in Ghana, is like walking on a lined mine. You have to walk so ever gingerly so that you don't get your leg blown up by a land mine. That is the description he gave it. And invariably, that is what happens. People's legs are blown up continually, causing heartaches and death and all that. So, Doctor, how did we come to this situation? How did we get here?
Thank you, Mrs. Atajefi. Just to add to your opening statement, let me also just add that we used to have a very renowned lawyer Penny Pa near friend lawyer E.D. Kum or a radio lawyer for a very long time. Now, Okasembi Okasa or no cry or lawyer no or as one cry. Manso or two mono when to me and to assassin into a jay Bokoto State House and dine. It is a lawyer penny pa na one who swear. It was a seminal heading. Na near woman say, Ghana assassin and the incline assassin. A home in some can a war, Zenia, a was it already. The same thing it say, near the kind Ghana for your yard doors. I feel I have a census, but it's actually moon and I should say, yeah, about 30 million people now. 10 years ago, during the 2010 census, no, we were just about 18 million. So, down here, Dawson. Now, yeah, Dawson, so unfortunately, Yankupon Boss, I say, and now, Crofubitna, which is Germany, and I was share a BBM, now what check Ghana, young boundaries, a bim back who view into Nyayawana, Nayawo, and so Branipan air door swing. Let's say, assassin, some a it's not going to come down. Until we put in place all the necessary structures that will help us to resolve the processes and the challenges that are associated with the evolution of land rights in our economy. enti nipa no redoso asase no sika krabi na se ne ho na le ho enti se ne tibiara nipa beko asase ho na eno e the pressure ebeba asase so ne to so mienu nkanka ofa Accra and other urban cities now the rate of rural to urban migration is very alarming obiara bankran obiara kokumase obiara bankran a opɛ baabi nso de ne ti ato nti ɛno akasa de pressure nso to asase so ma ɛma demand for land na ɛkɔ soro nti na wobɛhu baabiara na kiosk baabiara na kiosk baabiara na kiosk ebi sɛ wɔba wɔpɛ baabi de wɔn ti ato ɛno ɛnyɛ obiara na wɔ sika a ɔde bɛtɔ asase ɛno de pressure to asase no so nea ɛwɔ bio ne nkanka nkran ha no yɛn asase no yɛwɔ mu ahorow yɛwɔ ne yɛfrɛ no stool land a ɛyɛ nsase a nananom ɛte so no wɔhwɛ so ma ɛyi akongua ne mma ne yɛwɔ family land ne yɛwɔ clan land ɛyinom nyinaa yɛ nsase a yɛde ahyehyɛ nkurɔfo nsa abusuapanyimfo na mpanyimfo nsa a wɔhwɛ so ma ɔmanfo ne nkurɔfo a wɔhyɛ wɔn ase na nea ɛwɔ mu ne sɛ bra yɛyɛ saa nhyehyɛ yi sɛ na meka ne nka na yɛn dɔɔso nti Ghana fo obiara tumi tena baabi a ɛdɔ baabi adidi ma ɛde asomdwee ba sese yɛadɔɔso no ɛde pressure kakra aba asase no so na ɛsiane sɛ tetemere no yɛantoto hye ne nti ɛhye no nyinaa ayera ne anim sɛ nnua ne akwan ne nsuo na yɛde yɛyɛ ayɛtototo ahye but say all those things are gone all the boundary markers are gone nti we have very fuzzy boundaries and because of the fuzzy boundaries people continue to fight over land and that alone brings a lot of uncertainty about land apart from that say the boundaries are not determined even in terms of our chieftaincy and customary arrangements maybe there's a lot of confusion as to who has the ultimate power to dispose of any particular piece of land. Is it the stool? Those who have been the usufructs and the users, or it is the families that first settled on those lands and have occupied those lands since time immemorial. There is always a conflict between such families and the stools in Accra especially, and also the confusion. But it becomes a very daunting task to even identify who is the rightful person you have to deal with. Thank you for or Assassin at the Agboba. So on here, the deal with me sign Kratano, so how do you reconcile that? Ɔhene bi a ɔte asase no so agbogba no bɛka kyerɛ sɛ yɛn ne yɛhwɛ asase no so ɔbɛtɔn ama wo ɔbɛgye wo sika obi a aka kyerɛ sɛ mede wɔrekɔ ɔhene no hɔ ɛwɔ tɛhye na wasensan nkrataa no ama wo. So all these things put a lot of uncertainty in the way we manage our lands, and they have been like that for a very long time. And with the increasing population and the pressure on land due to increasing demand for land now, it makes the situation a bit too precarious for people to be able to navigate through. Apart from that, our land administration system has also not helped us. Our government agencies and state institutions that were set up since colonial times to independence and to now have not been very strong. Our land records have moved from institutions to institutions. At a point, even PWD was the one that was the custodian of government lands. So they had the government land records. The courts at a point were doing the registration. So they had some records. And then the lands department was created in 1966 and they started creating their own land records. And so the sources and the basis of some of these records have not been very solidified. And so sometimes there are gaps even in the records and you just don't know how to fill them in. Our record system itself has not been very good, and that has not been able to support people who make decisions and want to transact business in land. Within the lands department itself, it has not all been very smooth. They also have had very varied sources of generating or developing or creating the land records. So they had records that are based on compulsory acquired lands. As I said, some came from PWD, others came from the courts. They have records that they never intended for it to be part of the land records because they were just extracted for values, for valuation purposes. Now they have become major source of our land records, creating a whole lot of confusion because that was not the original intention. Then you have those that have been registered, and in the registration, there have also been instances where the registers themselves have not been very conclusive and very finalized. And so we have gaps. When you go to the Lands Commission, the commission doesn't have records on all lands in the country. So when you go sometimes, they tell you there are no records in this country on this particular specific piece of land. The only thing we can say is that it's not government land. That one we are certain because for all government lands, they have the records. So because of all these gaps in our land administration system, people find it very difficult, and rightly so, to be able to make decisions that will enable them to acquire land peacefully and without any litigation. So anytime you are buying land, just as Bayasapon said, it's just like walking on a land filled with landmines.
I see, doctor. The way they yes, you are for and if I would just pick up a few things I okay, as one, I think you emphasize about the pressure on land. Na sabi unyame nso mbo asase kan ho bi obroni twa ana mae no unyame mbo kan ho bi so pressure on land due to population growth. And then the issue about tools and clan lands, sabi ohenenity teshin na obi so a ote asase no so wa gbogba. It is like when oma asase no ebi okwa na ohene na madeda ana agbogba ni no ohene no wa ma asase no deda nso ebi ana no teshin onim ho bi. And the conflict between stools and the inability to know say stool there and as a family there, the family knows so asset or more rights. And then you talked about the administration system, and then the fact is at a point in time PWD and so more money in PWD and PWD is Public Works Department. We remember them that they used to repair bungalows, not knowing at the point in time they were in charge of records on land. Until the Lands Department was set up in 1966. And I also remember there's an office called Office of the Officer in Charge, Valuation Records, which became part of the records. Doctor, you have said all these things, but where the Obi babies say, well, despite all these things, no, why? What do I? Then you better state in mind. It's chaotic. I mean, yes, these things are there, but why is it that an individual cannot be able to buy this land after all these years? There's a 1966 Council Lands Department, they said actually more than 50 years or so. It's why haven't we been able to make some progress concerning things? And it's not shall be me a boy and kakra before we continue.
Yeah, land has always been a very sensitive issue. So many of our political leaders, na nananom dia na won nananom nsem into kokan wanka na yiyepe now ne nananom na ekwakonya asem into for a very long time no the sector itself was underfunded. Records no say na mpanyifo no building eno a obi amfa sike bia nhim yesterday computerization yi ebi Lands Commission for a very long time. Inti ye jaw land administration system no to what che until 1999. Yeah, national land policy no na fi gina so na develop land administration project na ye sha 2003 we do 2018 2019 na ye de year ne makakran sam no pe na yetumi inject bibi kakra and some resources into the land administration system to try and help improve the system. Otherwise, it has been largely underfunded, and all the problems that I've mentioned have been exacerbated due to the apparent neglect of the sector over a very long time. That is what, unfortunately, we are saddled with. It will take a little bit of time to be able to resolve these issues. First, we need to be able to resolve the record system and make sure that we are able to unify the records and have more credible records that people can put their faith on. It is ironic, say, Lands Commission, Ukoye Secha, aban adwuma asoae a wohwe nsase so na nsase nkrata ni nyina ewo wonsem na ukoye search a na ya search no so said the Lands Commission should not be held liable if you make any decision based on the information I had there ma ono inti onu mu na kasa kura onje ne hu ni say information a ode ma ono papa bi. So we have a long way to go, but fortunately, I think now people are beginning to realize, say, land is very central to our total development, and therefore we cannot neglect it any longer. We have to fix the problem, and it will take some time to fix it. But the most important thing is that we don't ignore it any longer, but we deal with it. Now, yes, it's going to be very difficult because the pressure is still there.
Okay, doctor, thank you. Wait there. Let me say, Senator Brofumo, he who have ears, no let them hear. I'm saying, Pennyfuno. Say, Bibe Tiebia, and I bedu one echi, I bedu one swa, one tiebi. But, I know the Yakakama say the responsibilities of state actors nadi. So, say, Nian Fambra, Yankasa Yahokakra. Me say, me wo America, me wo UK, me wo Germany, na me pese me to asase a. I'm saying pain pin say no comfort as say obey search. But sometimes no me the kakra yet me hu say we search no kra wie na information e wo search ne so no. E ma want me hu. Yes, e ma want me hu necessary we say judgment with me for judgment e wo search no so. Statutory declarations, grants, intina obia anka opeso to asase na anka se bi oni asundwe. Can you help us to know what can the person do in good faith na wa koye any plan na wa search? Can you help us a bit with that one?
Mr. Tajemfi, no kware a woman say asase tono se biu enti se ye senia ye to shet ewo store mu ukoto shet ewo store mu na ufi store no mu na opue na otewa no na wuyi pins na wo mu no na wo sha eno ane se umpe bio na store na ukoto anu wo mu woje enema wo return na you can return and go and get your money. Then one that's the end of the transaction. Unfortunately, land ends say yakase obi ato asase a 100 by 70 and ye asase na ye twama 100 by 70 no physical land no na wato lemom certain rights be in a interest be in a what the amount say bia so wato 100 by 70 now coin or lease for 99 years no purchase for the 99 years no between the assassin aye niema bia wonne ya wo the assassin ma no ahihye and also say oto no kra na kire say what assassin no kra inti ayewode forever and ever na mum ya ewum ni say meto sa assassin no na mede to honom na manka ho hwe ya eda ho obi anim say bibia wom. Sometimes assassin matter me inkrata wode ma me kura me de ahye me sumi ase menim say me ko register intimidate to honum eda ho, but it doesn't mean say I don't have any rights or any interest in the land. Enti actually or hinen anasa obi fufuru fechi no koto assassin na obi fufura. It is the same thing. Some rights be na other manipako no 10 years 20 years down the line these issues can come up. And unfortunately, that is one of the things that we are confronted with. That Niemana making care about how the records came to be built up. You know, these are the times that they are all coming up, surfacing. At the time they were building those records, they never thought, say, come 2021, you'll be facing these challenges. But that is how land is. You don't need to rush. it is not something that you can do on your own. Even when you are buying a developed property in the UK, Bibia and I say US, Bibia established, so well organized. You don't need to have any problems. You still need an attorney. You still need a conveyancer. You still need a lawyer to guide you through the process. Oh, the same thing. Let's say, don't try and do it on your own. Unfortunately, before you have been saying it, obiara tasase a ompese ne yonko krabeti on kan kire lawyer krampo se o nyame to nyampese miyeni na lawyer na ahwehwe mu no ama guidance say say. Sometimes they only approach a lawyer when they have problems. Oh, when the problems have been created, inti nyamesrani say obi koto asase a onto ne bona onpe lawyer bi na ondi nanim right from the inception. Don't wait until you've run into problems. Asa na odimrika lawyer no honom. Now, yes, you may buy litigation and you may end up fighting over the land for a very long time. The other thing is that land itself seems to be some spirituality. Soon be was asimu to the extent says obinya de nani ko hu asasi bi na otua kape na when you have some spiritual attachment to the land, he will fight for that land until he gets it. Inti yoton assassin man no cry and emfa ne ho so the what on you sika but whoever comes to challenge me on the land, I'm going to fight that person until I get this land. And then the person who sold the land to you has taken the money and gone away. Inti mesre enye ade say ye rush into buying land again. Kakra made to diaspora for and they say anytime they come down and they want to buy these things, they always create the impression, say they are in a hurry. I have only 4 weeks to stay. I must complete this transaction before I go. Well, yes, sir. People will just lead you on and then take your money. So it requires patience because of the very nature of our records. It requires patience to go through and navigate all that maze and make sure, say, there's complete understanding. Mr. Teja, if you can say search about console judgment, or judgment, statutory declaration, conveyance, deed of gift, how do you interpret all these things? And yeah, dear layman with your understanding, will be able to do it. You need the lawyer as an officer judgments in a statutory declaration. See, not know what each one says. And what to me to for say, Adia Okakoto, Ota, Ubenya Homanso, and now Ota Ubenya House will be. Inti Mema Futune say people shouldn't rush into buying property at all. They should take their time. And so they should never give the impression, say, if they don't buy the land within the next 4 weeks, the whole world will cave in under them. If you give that impression, you are just setting yourself up to be defrauded.
Well, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen who are either listening in or watching us on Zoom, it is my pleasure to inform you that today we have with us the former Executive Secretary of the Lands Commission, Dr. Dami Lapi, and he's throwing so much insight on the land issues. Like I said, we may have discussed some of them already, but definitely he's bringing new insights, and I'm also learning new things. And like we always learn new things every day. So keep tuning in, and if you have your questions or you want to contribute to the program, just unmute your mic and then you can join in by asking your questions or by contributing. We can make the program more meaningful to all of us. So, Doctor, we'll continue with our discussion. We know that government acquired a lot of lands. And like you said, when we do a search, maybe you can have you reveal that it is government land. But then at one breath, we say that a land is state land. And then in another breath, you see in the records that it is vested land. Is there a difference?
Yes, there is.
Because we all take it that it's public land.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go on.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, there is a difference or a distinction between state lands and vested lands. State lands are lands that the government has acquired and are vested in the president in trust for all the people of Ghana. Those lands have been acquired by either an executive instrument or a certificate of title. And any friend government land, no, aban asase aban aji efi obiara eye ne de ho betumi aye ohene bi de anasa akongwa bi de betumi aye busua bi de betumi aye ankoranko bi de aban enam mmrakwan so agi asase no na watua compensation se ontua compensation kura eno so eye aban asase inti nia yede hu se eye aban asase ene asase a certificate of title wo so a ekire se aban asase no yede ama aban anase yaye executive instrument ato so na aban de age sa asase no eno na ye friend state land na aban nam sa okwan no so agency bebre de ye mpuntundwuma bebre ye de BCC ye schools ye secondary schools ye universities ye hospitals markets ye de bi kura yitumi gibi de ye akwan ne ade sa asase ni nyina asase a aban no age na se aban age sa asase na ye friend state land na adwumaku ba ko pe na obetumi adi ho dwuma ana obetumi ahwe so no di bia ma obi se onfa ye adwuma na ontena so na osi dan oso adwumaku no ene lands commission inti se aban ede ne sa to asase bia so na oje a sa asase ni nyina ye de lands commission se for se won hwe so emfa ma president no na woni ho dwuma emfa ma president no ene Ghana man nyina inti eno any state land ye wo ba ko bia ye friend no vested land vest no ekire se ye de ama obi se hweso ye nhweso de inti se ye ka se asasi ye vested land na kire se ye ahemfo no mo sase nanano mo sase anase ebusua bi sase ebetumi aye ankorankoro nso nsase bia aban de nsa ato so eno no aban nje asase no nanano dia abusuafo no dia na mom aban age ne nhweso ene nya obetumi di asase na ye aban gi satumi ni nyina efa ma oye ho adwuma de ma asase wuranom. So the government takes over the management functions that pertains to the ownership of any particular land, and then government manages that land on behalf of the stool or the family. Inti enonom no vested land na ye kan Ghana ha vested lands ni bia ni ebeka se nsase bebre wo tete bron ahafo no se new regions na mi hu ba bia ebi ne nam ti mefa tete bron ahafo region no nsase ni bebre ho no ma na aban de nsa atoso kufodua nsase nsase aban de nsa atoso vested land nkoko nsase a vested land winiba nsase vested land iti eyinum bi vested lands a yewum ne se aban na ehwe sa asase no so enso ndenua ebefi sa asase no mu beba no emba aban ho ekọ nsase wuranom ho nti sa aban de asase no ma se kufodua asase sei na oje to se afi bi atua rent sei asa rent na aban jeje na utua ma aban no esa sika ni nyina aban wo hyehyɛ da ho a wode bekwa akoma nananom bio ente se government land na say state land na eno do tua rent na it goes into government revenue. Vested lands, the money doesn't go into government revenue, they are plowed back to the chiefs according to the laws that have been passed for the management or the administration of those funds. Inti sunsune a eda vested lands in state lands no emu ene.
Okay, Dr. Adase, thank you very much for that explanation. But if I may ask, Doctor, the vested lands, it seems the chiefs don't seem to know about it.
Yeah, that is true. It's true and it's not true. I follow the bro with him, but they make the decision. They still think, say, it is in their power to make that decision. I think the problem with vested land in the NSA, it creates a trusteeship of the state holding the land and managing it in trust for the schools. Now, when you're a lawyer, you know the concept of trusteeship. So obi de na de ma se hwesa na onfa nche wo se fakora ubu hu nkonta ekire no na mre abetwam kono na nkontabu no enye papa kware wo mu ne se na nkontabu na enye papa ntie ma ahemfo no bi ani bre no se sa na ite dia se ya asase won ye se hwe so man ntie o de memeton na me de nkrofo na bro no wa ye krata na ama wo. So that is what started some of these things, and so the chiefs started giving out some of the lands because they were alienated from the management of their own lands. The new Land Act now, Wabudino Act 1036, no, actually said now the management regime for vested lands has changed. It's now an inclusive system. They should set up a management committee made up of the landowners and the government agencies who will both sit down to make sure that the land is managed properly and appropriately. You will be able to set these structures right and be able to manage vested lands very well. So that has been the reason many of the chiefs lost faith in the government's ability to manage their lands for them because there was no accountability.
Thank you. Also, we did say, say, Trinidad, the bunch. So, thank you for hitting the nail right on the head for us. We just hope that Ghana is known for having very good laws, but then implementation sometimes become a challenge. We pray that that will not be the situation with the new Lands Act. And well, after all the issues that you've talked about, if somebody is able to go ahead and acquire land in a vested area, like you said, the chiefs give it out, and they give it out so boldly because they take it that no compensation paid, no accountability, so we can go ahead. What should an individual do? How does a person get legal title to these lands, especially the vested lands? How does one go about it?
When the chief gives you any document on a vested land, it is not valid. You cannot register it. You can't use it for anything. It can only be used as an intention of the chief to give you the land. You still have to apply to the Lands Commission for allocation of that land. And when you apply, the Lands Commission will not treat what the chief has given you as the final thing. They will take it through their own processes. They will first check whether the land is available or it's been encumbered in any way. They will check with the planning authorities whether what you want to use the land for is permissible on the land. And then they will go and inspect the land and check the lie of the land and make sure that everything is in order. And Sana, as if it's a new allocation that they are making for you. If you have such a land, all you have to do is to do an application. You can attach the indenture that the chief gave you, as evidence to show, but it's just a declaration of intent. It doesn't convey any right or any interest in the land to you because by law, the management of that land is vested in the Lands Commission. So the chief doesn't have any locus at all in trying to create that right that he intended to create. Again, it brings a conflict between the chief and the state and the Lands Commission in particular. When the chief thinks that to be an himself, many of him ewo nkabaya asase so obi anim say me na mede nsase ma ene na mede asase ma ne Lands Commissioner what's wonje ntum, but that is the law. Let's hope, as you said, that we will be able to implement the new Land Act the way it should be. It's a very good act, but I'm just afraid we don't have the capacity now to implement the act as it is, unless we put in a deliberate effort to understand all the full ramifications of the act and the type of skill mix we need to be able to implement this act. It may be a very good act on paper, but in terms of implementation, you will not see much action.
Doctor, first now, Kase, we are going with, but the way you are saying, it looks like a lot has to be done about the implementation. And see, we pray that it will reach the appropriate quarters in a implementation. People can have their peace of mind when they buy land in Ghana. Otherwise, we may lose a lot of our people coming back home, and the security of title will continue to be a challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, we are still tuned into VitalGh Radio, and we are discussing today issues about land. And we are very privileged to have with us Dr. Damilabi, a former executive secretary of the Lands Commission. And I just pray that you let other people know that we are having a very important resource person with us, so they should tune in. It is good legal information. It is good education, and then you will have the opportunity also to have your questions and whatever has been bothering you. You can have the opportunity, like I said, to have it discussed. And if the problem is not even solved, it will be helped for you. Doctor, well, after people have gone through all the issues about acquiring land, now the registration too is a whole ball game. Why can't one just submit an application to Lands Commission, Koforidua, Sunyani, Tamale, Accra, and just wait and know that yes, I have gone to the appropriate quarters, I have lodged my document, maybe paid stamp duty. So I'm going to get my land certificate if it is in the Greater Accra region, or I'm going to get my document registered if it's in the other parts of the country. Why do we still have all these challenges after LAP and all these things, interventions that government has put into land administration?
Let me just share a story a former Minister of Finance once shared with me when I was talking to him about the need to resource the Lands Commission to be able to do its work and do it better. He said, yes, many years ago, he bought a piece of land, just as you said. He came, deposited his documents, and then they acknowledged receipt, and then he went. After about 3 months' time, he got a mail in his box saying that his document has been completed and registered. He should come and pick it up. Those days, we didn't have anything like SMS messages and those things, so everything was by mail. And he went for it. He never stepped at the Lands Commission to follow anything up. And so he thought that the way the things have deteriorated, the system needs to be fixed. It can be done, but we've allowed things to deteriorate so much so that at this moment in time, we are not able to do that. I think the Commission has started in a very modest way. They've set up the Client Services Access Unit, CSAU, where it's becoming more of a one-stop center where you go and deposit your documents, and then they will take it through the processes. You don't need to follow everything up. And they send SMS messages acknowledging receipts and other things. So we are starting and we are getting there. We still have a lot of back office challenges in terms of processing. Remember, I've already talked about the ununified records, because so we have records from various sources that they will have to check all of them against your documents to make sure that they are not giving you any, or they are not going to register your title or your interest in the land as against any existing transaction or any encumbrance on the land. So they'll have to go through all that. Some of the records are in the Lands Commission. Some are at the Survey Department, Survey and Mapping Division. Some of them are at the Land Registration Division. So they will need to check all these things to make sure that things are done properly. So these back office processes take time and they require time. I believe that what needs to be done is regular update of the client as to where the document has reached. Perhaps if they finish the search in one particular unit, then they send you as an SMS text. This process has been completed. We are moving to this process, so that they keep you in the loop. But sometimes the whole thing is at the blind side, and you go and sometimes they can't even trace the document. So I think given the challenges that we are facing, it is not at the moment still possible to just go and hand in your document and just sit back. You have to still be following up one way or the other to make sure that it doesn't get lost in the system. But I'm sure eventually we will get there. I'm told they've set up an online platform where you can put in a request for research and make payments, and then they will take it through the process. So I think we are starting from somewhere. But as I said earlier on, the capacity is simply not there, and we need to be able to develop the full capacity for them to be able to work very well.
Okay, well, it means that we still have to be patient, and after you've bought the land and you've taken it to the client services access unit, you may unfortunately have to know that you are in Ghana. We haven't got everything digitized as it is in where you are coming from, either in UK or in the US or in Germany. So you would still have to be patient and know that we are more or less running a quasar system of digitized environment, and then the manual environment. But doctor, what do you think? Don't you think that sometimes the way the land is also acquired, the drafting? I remember you mentioned that people do not contact lawyers, and I'm glad you mentioned lawyers. You didn't mention land economists, so you are out. You
No,
mentioned,
well.
you mentioned lawyers, so it means that
I
it's
did,
good
because
advice. They should really contact us. I think sometimes people are afraid of, no, not afraid per se, but people invest all the monies in the transaction with the chief, or those who lead them to the chief, that they don't make consideration that I may have to get in touch with a lawyer. So when a lawyer's fee comes in, it is like, oh, the lawyer too is coming to take my money away, or the fees for the process. And it's like an afterthought. So I think that is why sometimes people don't want to. So I'm very glad you mentioned lawyers. And I keep assuring people that the monies that lawyer may collect is so really very small compared to the investments made, and sometimes it can take you out of so much trouble. So listeners and those watching in through Zoom, I hope it's good advice to you. Feel comfortable to talk to me. We won't collect big monies from you, doctor. Thank you, doctor, for letting them
no.
know that.
The other thing, it's by law in the new
Yeah,
act.
yes, very
Section
much.
33 says a
Yes,
conveyance shall only be prepared by a legal practitioner in
yeah.
terms of the Legal Professions Act 1960. Indeed, we lawyers nifima enye.
Thank you so much for that.
So even if you go to a land economist, he can only facilitate the process for you. He still needs to link up with a lawyer to be able to prepare the legal documents for you. And why do you wait till you've done your own negotiations with the chiefs and everything before you go and contact the lawyer? No. Let your lawyer also be part of all those negotiations. He may be able to help you and craft a good deal for you. Especially in our environment, about 90% of our land transactions are leases. And now the new Land Act, we are even moving towards 100% of land transactions being leases. Leases are very individualized and personalized contracts. So it depends on what you negotiated for. So if I have my land adjacent to yours, I can negotiate better terms with the landlord against you in terms of even rent, in terms of renewal clauses, in terms of covenants and other things. I can negotiate something better. So if you involve your lawyer right from the beginning and you let them know your intention, he should be able to negotiate something better for you. So that there is every importance attached to the need to contact a professional before you even attempt to go ahead and buy any land. Don't go and meet the landowners, the chiefs, all by yourself. Sometimes we even work there on our own. We don't even take anybody who can, even when it becomes necessary, can be a witness and say, I went with this person and he saw what happened. No, we don't want anybody to know. We don't want our spouses to know. We don't want our family members to know. I've seen so many instances where people have died and then the spouses have seen land documents in their things, and then they come to the Lands Commission and they ask you, oh, we saw this in the man's things. What is it? Can you tell us about it? And then you ask them, did the man ever tell you that he owned any property anywhere? They say no. So you now have to go through the process of trying to identify this property. Invariably, by the time sometime you realize the man even sold the land before dying. So it is very important that we don't take these things for granted. And as I said, buying land is not like buying a shirt in a supermarket, in a shop. So you have to make sure that 20 years, 30 years down the line, the land will still be there. Your interest will still be there. If you get a lease for 99 years, for that 99 years, your interest must be protected. So it is something that we shouldn't take for granted, but we should take it with all seriousness and make sure that we approach the right people and let them help us.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that. Our time is running out so quickly, and I don't know whether Doctor will agree to doing a part 2
No
of our
problem.
discussion.
No problem.
That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah,
So we'll
we
be
can
looking
do a
forward
part
to
2.
having you again to tell us more and to break down things further for us. So please, if you have any question, I think we can just unmute your mic, and then you can also ask a question or give a contribution to our discussions. Well, we have our resource person here in the person of Dr. Dami Labi, a former executive secretary of the Lands Commission. I would want you, Doctor, until we get a question coming up. We heard of the land administration project, and there was so much hope. We thought we'd have gone so far. After a lab running for some years, we thought that we would have had a very comprehensive registration system for land. At least that is what is important to the average person, that I'll take my document to the Lands Commission, and then it will be processed for me so that I can get my land certificate or get it registered in the deeds registry. Can you please tell us a bit about the land administration project, and as far as you know, where we are now?
Right. Thank you, Mrs. Atajemfi. The land administration project, the actual project started in 2003. But before then, in 1999, we developed and finalized the national land policy for Ghana. At that time, Ghana was just one of about 5 countries in the whole of Africa that had developed land policy. In being able to do all these things and set ourselves on course to improve upon our land administration system. So when we finished the policy document, we now have to go ahead and implement the policy. In the implementation of the policy, that is when we developed the land administration project as the main vehicle for implementing the project. Remember, I've already said that since organized administration for Ghana started in 1844 and the lands department was set up in 1966, the land sector had not seen any injection of any project, any capital at all. It's all been manual, and the piecemeal training that we gave to staff. So staff came there and they were trained on the job and they worked, and that was all. So the sector was very down and needed a lot of injection of capital to be able to do it. So the first phase of lab was mainly to try and pilot and see how things will do, how things will go, what can we do to improve upon the system. So we looked at our laws and we realized that the laws needed some revision. So that is, we look at our institutions. At that time, we had the Lands Commission, we had the Land Valuation Board, we had the Land Title Registry, we had the Office of the Administrator of Stool Lands, we have the Deed Registry, we have the Town and Country Planning, you have the District Assemblies, all of them having one thing to do or the other in land administration. So we needed to look at our institutional framework too and see what we can do about it. And then we also, as I said, we hadn't demarcated our boundaries, our customary boundaries. We didn't know how it was going to feel like to go and tell or determine the boundary between 2 paramount chiefs. And then you tell one that, no, the land does not belong to you, or the boundary should be here, or we don't want to show you the boundary. A whole lot of things. We didn't know what these things would turn out to be and how feasible, how easy it would be. We had done land title registration from 1988 up till 2003, but it had been sporadic. People apply for their lands to be registered, there was no systematic way of doing it. So we wanted to see what will it take to pursue a systematic approach to title registration to make sure that our land registers are full. So these were some of the considerations that we took on board in doing the land administration project. So we started all these things, and at the end, people were expecting to see that we would have revolutionized the whole land administration system. No, it wouldn't happen that way, because, as I said, we even didn't understand the forces at play and what needed to be done, what needed to be restructured. So we needed to take our time to understand all these things. The culmination is the passing of the Lands Commission Act in 2008 to give us a new institutional framework for land administration. And then we passed the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act to deal with all the difficult issues. We haven't talked about land use planning. Maybe next time we will look at some of the elements of land use planning, which is another aspect that many people face. You do your design. When do you get building permit? And if you don't get the permit, what happens to your structure? And can you go ahead and build? And those things. We can look at that. But we passed the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act to provide for a new legal framework for land use planning to make sure that we are able to plan our lands. This was also done under LAP. And then we passed the new Land Act in 2020. Passing a land act is not very easy. Many countries take up to 10 years. And we took quite some time to be able to also get these things sorted out. So the lab achieved those things. We were able to pilot 10 customary areas to see what it would take to demarcate the boundaries. We had stools in that 10. We had families in that 10. We had one from each region to understand the regional dynamics as well. And Mrs. Atajenfe, I tell you, the challenges were very, very daunting. There was no single customary land area we selected that we can say we were able to successfully demarcate the entire boundary. Too many challenges, too many problems, too many disputes. But what we did was that we were able to map all the disputed areas, show them to the chiefs for them to see the areas that they are disputing about. But we couldn't go ahead to resolve those disputes when the project ended. But at least it taught us the lessons that if we are now to do it, we will know how to do it and how to approach it, and how to do it better. The same way with the systematic title registration, we did the piloting. How do you go ahead and do systematic titling, picking the boundaries, doing the survey, developing the forms, getting the clients on board. We've learned lessons. I think that going forward, the next one would have been, now how do we scale these things up? Now that we've learned the lessons, we've developed the typologies, how can we scale these things up to make sure that we are able to resolve our boundaries? As for boundary demarcation and resolving the disputes among our customary and traditional authorities, I think that we should take that as a national priority. That is the only way we can have some peace within our land administration system, when chiefs are not fighting over their boundaries because everybody knows where the boundary is. But in this current dispensation, where some chiefs actually know where the boundaries are, but because they've already given out all their lands and they don't have any lands, they jump onto other people's land on the understanding that, or on the presumption that the other chief doesn't know his boundary. And this sparked a lot of litigation. So that is a major issue that we need to tackle going forward. And I think one other thing is that we developed the computerization basis. We couldn't go the full hog of computerizing the entire office. That's why we've done only the front office. And we hope that with time, we should be able to eventually migrate onto a digital platform that will serve the whole country and serve everybody. So in terms of land, the lab, that is actually what happened. And these are the chunks of things that we did. In each of them were a lot of lessons that we learned.
It is said that there's a French proverb that the things more change, the things more seem to be the same. I mean, the interventions you've talked about are so much, and I know that there were monetary as well as the intellectual and all the various parameters that were put in. But to the average person, the challenges are still there. The challenges about acquiring land is still there. And even about the land use planning that you just mentioned, it seems everybody can just go to any land and just put up anything there. So we see the laws, but it looks like the implementation is really, really a challenge. Our time is fast spent. I don't know whether our producer can give us some time so that we can wrap this up in a meaningful way, or we would have to just cut it short here. Openyi, can we have a bit of time?
Yes, you can add about 15 more minutes to it.
Okay, thank you very much. So those watching and those listening in, please, we have a bit of time. If you want to contribute or ask a question, do just come or mute your phone, your mic, and ask your question or bring in your contribution. Well, doctor, after all that you have said, I think the individual is still interested in what can I do? What can I do so that I don't become a victim, or I can have my peace of mind after investing money in acquiring land in Ghana, working so hard in the snow and all the issues that go about staying abroad. What can a person, you have mentioned a lot of it, the importance of contacting a professional, a lawyer, and it is to the legal profession's credit that we also help and do our bit as people who have been mandated by law to make sure that interest in land are created appropriately and the due documentation is done. You just mentioned a top lawyer who has passed, unfortunately, a very top lawyer who said he even had challenges with acquiring land. So sometimes,
And he
if
gave up.
if the healers cannot heal themselves, where do you go? But
Yeah.
definitely, there is merit in what you are saying, that it is important that you contact a lawyer. They will definitely help you so that at least some of the risks are removed. So back to the question again, doctor, what can a person practically keep doing to reduce the risks in land acquisition in our own country? It is so painful to say that you can acquire land peacefully in other countries. And yes, they may also have gone through their developmental processes, the issues, but you can easily acquire land in US, a freehold interest in land, so long as you're able to pay your mortgage. But in your own country, in our own country, it is a whole ball game. What can we still do so that we reduce the risk that is involved in land acquisition?
The advice is simple, and I've already said it. Don't try to do it yourself. DIY is a very risky venture in land transactions. Don't try to do it yourself. You may not understand the full implications of any step or any decision you may take. So right from the beginning, from the time that you even conceive of trying to get a piece of land for whatever purpose you want, try and seek a professional and speak to the professional. Be very clear in your mind what you want to do. Do you want to build a house to live in? Do you want to build a shop? Do you want to build a filling station? Do you want to build an estate? Be very clear in your mind, because that will then determine how much land you want to acquire, to determine the location of the land that you want to acquire. So when you are very clear in your mind as to what exactly you want and why you want that particular piece of land, from there, speak to a professional. And at that point, it may be necessary to start talking to a surveyor, because the land surveyors also know where the lands are. But at the same time, alert your lawyer, and your lawyer may also have ideas as to where some of these things are, and then pass the burden on to them. Don't try and carry this burden until the point where you see that you are losing your money. You've bought litigation, and so that's the point that you think you need a lawyer. Lawyers are not there only for litigation; they are also there for advisory purposes and consultancies that they can support you with. So from that point, start talking to the lawyer, and if you still want to go ahead and do it yourself, we can talk about that next week. I have some points that I always list. If you want to do it yourself, the steps that you have to go through and make sure that you follow those steps, then you protect your back, and also make sure that you don't unnecessarily buy litigation. And even if you are taking any risk, you are taking it knowledgeably and knowing exactly what you are putting yourself in. You are seized of all the facts and all the pieces of information that you need to know before you make the decision.
And Doctor, you just mentioned that you wouldn't mind being with us for a sequel to this program, but you just mentioned that you have some points written out. You've made us curious. Can you just state the points so that when we get the opportunity to meet you again, you can give us the details about it?
No, I've divided it into what to do at each stage. As I said, when you conceive the idea that you want to acquire a piece of land, what information you need, and what do you need the land for? What use are you going to put the land to? Where do you want to do that investment? All these things. Sometimes we go and put up a hotel in a place where nobody would want to stay. But we put up a hotel there, and then when you don't get the clients, it becomes an issue. To make that decision, for example, you will need somebody to do a feasibility study for you and advise you. This place you put a hotel, you're not going to get good clients. The road is not made. Security of the area is not very well laid out. So it is not good. So I see some hotels, and I ask, how many people will stay here in a year? Are you going to get 40% occupancy? I doubt. And yet you have put up all that hotel. So you put all those things in your mind, and then when you have decided that this is what you want to do, speak to the surveyor. When you go to the surveyor, what do you need to tell the surveyor? Discuss with him how much land you want. And sometimes again, people go with preconceived idea. I want a piece of land in Accra Central to build a hotel, period. Accra Central is already choked. So to get a piece of land, then when you ask the person, how soon do you need the land? I need it yesterday. It's urgent. I've got some money and I have to use it almost immediately. You don't put investment in land in that way. You have to take your time and work out all your documentation and everything first. So when you go and see the surveyor, what the surveyor will do and what the output the surveyor should give to you, the site plan, the qualities of the site plan. If you are doing it all by yourself, when the surveyor gives you the site plan, you should be able to understand that it meets all the standards that is required for the transaction that you are going to use the plan to do, because they prepare plan for so many different purposes. So make sure that the plan that they prepare for you meets the standard that is required. And unfortunately, again, Lands Commission is not helping us. Every time they are coming up with new regulations and new specifications for the plan, I always tell them that they are not helping us at all. And these plans are not backed by any law at all. Today is barcode. The next time it is this. The next time it is that. All the time the goalpost keeps shifting. But unfortunately, that's what we have to saddle ourselves with. So you need to understand what the surveyor will give you. And then the next one, when you go to meet the elders of the land, what you should do, the information, who you should go with, the negotiations. Don't rush, don't create the impression that if you don't get that land today, you are not interested. Because they will also tell you that there are about 20 other people who have queued to buy the same piece of land. So if you don't come and pay your money today, they will give it to another person. You leave and go, come back after 3 months, the land will still be there. There's no queue. But they create that impression so that you rush to make payments. And if you don't take care, you will lose out. So these things are things that people need to know if you want to do it yourself. But if you pass all this on to your lawyer, then you can sleep, because the lawyer will make sure that the right thing is done. So let me leave it here, and we can talk more about all the things when you want to register, how you go about the registration and all those things.
Okay. Doctor, I think you've brought us to a very good conclusion about our discussions today, and I think we are all living here with very credible information about where we are, how we got to where we are, and the way forward. The way forward about a person trying to protect his or her interest in land and to reduce the risk as much as possible. I think what we may have to say is that there is the need for information flow. You just said the goalposts are shifted every time. New policy decisions are taken. New instructions are given about how maybe a plan should be prepared. Today is barcoded. The next time you have need to add your TIN, you have to add your ID and all those things. But I think when we have information flow, at least we will be able to know about it. And when one goes to either register a document, the requirements will be known. So I think that is what we have to keep doing. And we are all going to help to do that because it is not one person's responsibility. And doctor, also, I think you emphasize the point of using professionals. And today you have talked very much for the legal profession. One, it is in the act that a legal document, a land document must be prepared by a legal profession in accordance with the Legal Profession Act. And then the importance of having either the surveyors and all those that are required. And then the land use planning, how to get the access to them. I think next time we have a discussion, we are going to look more at the land use planning because I hear the name, but I think the impact or the relevance for it seems to a bit remote on that. So, Doctor, on that note, I think I'll have to thank you so very much for making time for us to be on this program today and the wealth of information that you have given us today. So we will say a big thank you, and listeners and those viewing in on your behalf, I'm saying thank you to Doctor for making time for us today. And he has already hinted that he's ready to be available to us at the next discussions we're ready to have with him. So we look forward to seeing him at another program that will be coming on VitalGH Radio. Doctor, thank you very much, and we hope to see you very, very soon.
Thank you very much. Yes, I hope to see you also. As I said, let's keep talking about all these things so that people get well informed. But before we go, let me say this. I said I will say it before. In your introduction, you said last week when you met, you were talking about the fact that by law these days, when spouses acquire property, whether knowingly or unknowingly, whoever takes the property takes it in trust for the two of them. It's not only about the future sale of the land, but whatever you want to do with the land. If you want to sell, if you want to exchange, if you want to transfer, if you want to mortgage, if you want to lease it, if you want to create any other right or interest in the land, you will need the written consent of your spouse before you can go ahead. So if we are to implement this law according to this letter, it's going to be a big shift in the way we do things. And those who acquire properties and their spouses are never aware, should be aware, because you are holding the property in trust without you knowing that you've created a trust property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yes, it's an interesting topic. And I remember as an earlier discussion, I was talking about how the LI covering it will be the legal, the legislative instruments concerning it will be brought to book. And I remember discussing with Openi that, okay, spouses. So I am a Muslim and I have 3 or 4 spouses. Whose consent do I get? I think we said it in the words, in a talking cheek, in a joking way. But like you are saying, definitely the presumption is that it's a trust property and it should be in the name of whether it is one person has it. The presumption is that it is a trust property for the couple or the spouses to be held accordingly. So, Doctor, thank you. Thank you so very much for your contribution on that too. So we hope to have further discussions on it. And I kept asking that, how is it going to be like? I'm a registrar at the land registry. What do I ask the person to bring, the applicant to bring? Do you bring us a copy of your marriage certificate? Do you bring us a copy of your wife or your husband's signature so that you're able to know that the signature that is brought before you, the written consent, yes, it's written. But really, is was it even under duress?
Was it saying, well,
Was it under
a whole lot
duress
of
and all
issues.
those things? But definitely the intent of the law is appreciated. And
Yeah,
it is pushing us all back to the intent of God, that the two
yeah,
shall be one in all
one,
its
yeah,
ways. So
yeah.
thank you so very much. We've had a lovely time with you, and we are looking forward so much to having the sequel to it. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, those who were able to make time to listen to us, I say thank you for joining in, either by listening or by watching us on Zoom. And we keep hope alive, because without hope, there's no essence for being alive. So see you next week and have a very, very blessed week. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Sata Jemfi. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you, Doc, and thank you, Mrs. Jenfi. So muti it's a time, time. But next time, ubi a person so sending a message. I'll be in private chat room on. What's sending one, ubi it no more so na muti more so no want me any chance no. Next time we go to a chat room no why say on the air. The Mrs. Jemfi next week na doc so anytime we ask na Mrs. Jemfi obeyes no watch na you creating more the dino ne esa na microphone was microphone eba so we say so but say noise be to we open the mic no we try to mute the mic and so on so thank you all
they will be able
watching.
to advertise it better too.
Yes, then next week. But also the picture will be more graphics.
Doctor, do you want your picture as part of the advert?
Well, I wouldn't mind.
Okay, so we are going to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching.
Thank you,
right?
Doctor. Have a very good night.
Good night. Good night.
Hi guys, so keep on watching VitalGh TV. Thank you, love you guys.
My name is Mimi. Keep watching VitalGh. Yeah!
Hey everybody, this is your guy Kadel. You have no other station to watch than VitalGh. Ghana. Boom.
Hi, it's Ohima here. Keep watching VitalGh. Bye.
Hi everybody, it's Stephanie, Mr. Sharika. Keep watching VitalGh.
What's up guys, what's up Ghana, what's up Africa? I go by the name